So, welcome everybody to unit number 10. In unit number 10, we're going to be talking about how companies develop the crafting and the development strategy, how they how they plan to put that product in the market. We already have talked of how they develop it, how they assemble the teams, how that structure goes, but let's go a little bit further into more onto the launching time and all of that. So first of all, like I said, we have that companies needed strategic launch timing. They need to understand mostly the development cycles, how long it takes to do the R&D, the production, the logistics to put them to the distribution centers, and also what they need to know is the consumption cycles. We're talking about the adopting cycle of that technology, right? Whether this technology is in full flow or is just an early stage or is already a laggard, and also we need to understand whether we are first market movers or second market movers, or what we are, where we're in the market, and what we're really pursuing. So in this case, for example, let's try to link this unit a little bit also to your Nintendo midterm exam. I think it's a great way to do it. So in this case, for example, when we talk about the launch timing for video gaming companies, they need to think strategically of, firstly, what kind of innovative technology they already have developed and what the other companies are doing. Bear in mind that in this industry, first mover, yes, it creates some profits, but in the end, whoever has the highest technology takes it all. So in the end, for them, it's very critical to do the R&D. During the R&D, there's also leaks about it, and they also twitch their products. So, for example, if Sony knows that Microsoft has a more powerful console in terms of graphics, they try to change that. So that means the product will take longer to be launched, but it will be more powerful than the Microsoft one. So here the leaks of what the industry knows and what is leaked to the consumers or so plays a very important role, because in the end it will tell us whether we should be the first movers or not. Also, in the case, for example, of Nintendo, when it was the last generation one, we could say that actually they took very long because PlayStation was already there, Xbox was already there, and then they come up with something that tackled so many problems, which was the mobility with the Switch, the mobility, and the gameplay itself, right? So good. So that launch timing goes together, and a launch timing also will go together with seasonal changes. No, so in this case, we can talk about seasonal changes in terms of, like, for them, Christmas season, summer season are key areas, because that's when they know that the kids are in holidays. So they have to make sure that there is enough, that there's a product available and there's enough products to be consumed during that time. Okay, so in this case, we have to talk about optimizing cash flow versus embracing cannibalization. So when we're talking about optimizing cash flow, is delayed introduction of a next generation product. So when we talk about this, um, in these video gaming consoles, they mostly wait until the console already has given everything it has to give. Means in terms of graphics, already there's no, I mean, the technology is limited, so they try to squeeze as much as they can the profits, and it can be from 6 to 10 years, more or less. So, and then they go into the next console that probably will be around the same time. So in this case, they cannibalize their own products, to be very honest, because some of you were saying that Nintendo, it's an incremental technology, but it's not. It is not. It destroys completely their previous products. Why do they do that? Because in the end, a video game of Switch is not compatible with a Wii. So in that kind of sense, like I said, I have to discard all my products before in order to buy the new console. So in this case, all the video gaming companies know that. except Microsoft. Microsoft has done the previous integration of, you can use some of the video games, and actually they are making digital some of the old video games so you can play them on the new console. So for them, that's a competitive advantage that neither Sony nor Nintendo has, which is I still can, because if I have some nostalgia for some video games, I can play some video games from all their consoles. So in this case, like I said, they think about it. They know whether it's a good idea or not. We can see it in the phone market. They usually cannibalize their own products, but here they cannibalize their own products because they know the competition of new phones with new features is there all the time, every year. So for them, it's about more beating the competition than rather than not that optimizing that cash flow. They of course they optimize it because when they launch those products, they put an exponential price to it. The cost of production from those phones is much lesser than what actually they price it. So when they launch those new telephones, they squeeze the price. Well, they squeeze the profits as much as they can, and that's how they manage to recover all that R&D and make profits as well. So they know the cycles are very short, so they try to squeeze it in the beginning. And we're gonna go a little bit into that. So anyways, in this case, we have the case of the licensing. So the licensing also helps the firm to develop that technology to make it sure that it's widely accepted. And again, we go back to the case of Nintendo. In the case of Nintendo, here is where we have the video game. So Nintendo, the original system, they knew how to do the video games. They had the new technology with new graphics. The problem is that they didn't have the capacity to come up with new titles. Because in the end, I mean, they could produce a couple titles and that was enough. But of course, a video gamer wanted more and more new things. So that is when they decided to do the licensing of how to use that technology. And they allowed multiple companies to do the development of the video games. So in this case, the development of the video games was very, very useful for them because suddenly they had more than 200 titles because there were many companies developing their own video games. Some of them became epic, some of them nobody remembers them. But in the end, I mean, in terms of on the point of view of the consumer was, I need to adopt this video gaming console back in the 90s, back in the 80s, 90s. I need to adopt it because it offers a lot of value in terms of variety of video games. I'll never get bored. In the end, there's 300 titles to choose from, as compared to maybe any other console that perhaps doesn't have as many. In that case, the licensing was a bit of a trouble because when they offered the licensing, these companies started to grow and they started to offer video games to other consoles as well. So that means, and that's all permeates all the way today. When we talk about a video game producer, let's say, for example, EA is a video game producer, or many more, there's many more. They produce for different consoles. They produce for Nintendo, they produce for PlayStation, they produce for Xbox, and so on. So in the end, I mean, it's good because when you do this licensing as a company, the video gaming community increases, but at the same time, you're also killing yourself because also they can use that licensing from other companies. So in this case, that's exactly what happened in the specific industry. Now, actually, Nintendo is even struggling a lot because some of the most innovative video games use a very different platform than the Switch. So, and also those titles do not match the strategy of Nintendo. We have to remember that Nintendo is looking more of an experienced video gaming family as compared to Xbox and PlayStation that develop games that are more for teenagers, adults. It's a different storyline, it's more aggressive, it's more violent. So in this case, many of the producers of those games are not producing the same games for Nintendo. And nowadays, that's the biggest problem of Nintendo Switch, that their catalog of video games is very limited because they have They don't have the support of those companies that they issue the license. You can use this license to do video games for Switch, but the problem is that because of the technology is not compatible, then they have to develop a completely new game for that platform. So that takes them a lot of time, a lot of resources, and they just don't want to engage on that. And that goes together with the next one, so the compatibility. So in this case, for the Switch, they have a very different technology that is not compatible with any other video games. It is also not compatible with their previous technology, so it's a standalone. So yes, it has good features, it's selling by itself, but how long will this be? In the end, users will start to realize that this Nintendo Switch is good, but I have only a few games to play, so I'd rather buy another platform that has much more variety. In the end, like I said, that's important for a video gamer, the variety of video games rather than just a good experience. Now, of course, Nintendo in this case started to develop other features or functions. Like I said, the services nowadays, what they are doing is trying to do. They have this like cardboard products that aid the video gaming and make it more real experience, which is good. But again, it doesn't make up for that compatibility that you need with the new products or with the video games. So in this case also, we have to think of when launching this technology, what price strategy are we going to use? Are we going to try to squeeze as much as we can initially, because we know it's a product that is already expected? Like I was telling you, for example, in the case of the Samsung, and let's go to the next slide because that's better in the next slide. Sorry. Wait, this one, give me 1 second. So we have, for example, like I said, in Samsung, they're already expecting this product. So when we have this product expected, because it's a large brand or so on, we will do the maximum market skimming, which is we're going to price it as highly as we can. We're going to try to recover that R&D as quickly as possible, because we know, firstly, the cycle is very short. In this case, for the smartphones, is 1 year, tops 2. So try to squeeze the market as much as possible. Try to recover everything as much as possible. In the end, the consumer is waiting for it, so they are willing to pay for it. That's not a big issue, right? So in the other case, we have other pricing strategy, which is we put a survival price that is just barely to recover enough. So in this case, my technology is not my company is not that known. People don't know about it. So what I need to do is put it on the market. Even though I don't recover that much, I will try to get the return back, cover for my expenses, but at least put it on the market. Make sure that people knows it. Okay, so and then we have that one goes together with the penetration pricing. The penetration pricing is the same thing. So I have a good product, but nobody knows the features, nobody knows it. My company is also very little known, or even if it's if it's a company well known, it's a product that hasn't been heard of before. So in this case, we go to the penetration pricing, which is I will set a very low price in the beginning. Once everybody gets to know the features, then I will increase the price. This is when companies are very, very confident that the product has very good features. The product by itself is expensive, but they need to put it in the market and they need to diffuse it. So that's why they use this strategy. Okay, very good. So now let's go to the distribution. The distribution, there's different methods as well. And this relies on whether the company wants other third parties to diffuse that product, put it on the market, or not. Do I want to do it all by myself? And also, do I have that capacity as well or not? Here, for example, we can see the example of Tesla. Tesla don't rely on third parties because they think that if I want to offer the best service, I have to do it on my own. If you want a repair of that product, I have to repair it by myself, because I don't want you to use any other tools, any other methods, any other services. So we have We have that Tesla that doesn't trust anyone, or we have companies that say, well, and actually Tesla, that's an issue that they have, which is when it comes to distribution, they are limited. Their sales force is not that strong to sell those products. But in the end, the demand is there. It's already there. There's a wait list for it. So in the end, they don't have that power force of sales that they should have. So in this case, we have a couple types. We have the manufacturer representatives, which is we manufacturers and then those representatives sell them, right? We have the wholesalers. Wholesalers is they buy our product in bulk and then they resell it. Let's, for example, they had the case of the phones, the telephone companies. That's why when in Korea you want to buy a phone, it's like, why this company sells the Samsung S10 by 200 and the other company sells it at 280. What's the difference? So they got a different deal. They just bought a lot of units and they decide to put the price that they want. So we also can choose retailers that handle that product. Like, for example, in the case of phones, we can think about any companies that sell that like a departmental store, for example. No, so in a departmental store there might be an electronics department. The electronics department, they sell Samsung, Apple, whatever it is, or any supermarket, they may sell it as well. So in this case, I put my product in there, and well, in this case, I can also choose whether, and we can go to the next slide also, which is whether you buy them from me and you sell them because you want a variety of products, or I just leave them to you. If you don't sell them, it's not, and there's no cost for you. I leave them in consignment. Only if you sell them, you get the profit, but if you don't sell them, just return them back to me. Okay, so we also have the original equipment manufacturer or value-added reseller, which is a company that buys products or components of the products. This one we can see it a lot, for example, in assembling technologies or hardware, which there's a lot of companies that assemble their own computers. The mainframe comes from you. Let's say, for example, I'll give you the example of my own computer. My computer is an MSI, and MSI, the mainframe is MSI with some of the main components being MSI, but in the end, the processor or the hard drive or some other things that might be from another company. So in this case, MSI doesn't have any stores by themselves. They sell them things online or through a value-added reseller. Another thing that we see nowadays is also that disintermediation. So because of the internet, now you can buy directly from the company. So the distribution is starting to work very differently. If you want to buy things from me, the only thing is that I have to offer them through any electronic means, or I can use them directly through my website. And then, of course, you have the choice to do whatever you want. Okay, very good. So now let's continue with the next one. Okay. So in this case, where we are going to be looking at choosing intermediaries. So you have to ask yourself some questions to choose whether you want intermediary. So in this case, how does the new product fit with the distribution requirements? In this case, do I want to offer any service? Like I said, in the case of Tesla, they have to tell you all the features of it. They have to educate the customers for it. They need to service on a very specific method. And for that matter, they decided not to choose intermediary. So again, they asked themselves those questions. So pre-purchase trial necessary? Yes, you have to try the Tesla, you have to feel it, you have to touch it. So that's why I need to do it in that way. And the same thing, how are competing products or substitutes sold? So do they let you try? That is one of the cases. For example, when iPhone started, iPhone was the first company that really let you go and touch and use the phone, right? They put it on display there, because some other companies is like, yep, this is the phone, it's in the box. If you want to try it, buy it, and then you can try it. And that was a very big trouble that Apple started to realize, and they started to say, okay, just put it there, let them try in the showroom, consumers can feel it, can touch it, can see its performance, and that's how it changed everything. Right, very good. So now accelerating distribution, it's on this case We can have different strategies like alliance with distributors. We can have some alliances. Uh, Here, for example, the LG and SKT, they can, I mean, LG phones can do an alliance and say, you sell my product, is at the better price. So try to offer it in this way, and there's some bundles and so off, and so on. Then we have contracts and sponsorships. Also, we have some contracts with companies or sponsorships through some means. And then, like I say, we have the guarantees and consignment, which is I leave you the product for you there. You don't need to pay for it. If you sell it, you get the profit, but if you don't sell it, that's fine. Just return the product to me. So then we have into the marketing. So the marketing, there's many methods. I think this one, I'm not gonna go in depth to it because in the end you already have taken your marketing class. So in the end, how are we pushing to deploy that product faster? And it comes back to publicity, promotions, public relations, conventions, exhibitions, or viral marketing, which is just trying online to showcase the product, sometimes with some controversial advertising, so we can try to push it and people understand. No, so nowadays companies are using a lot of social media to put their products. The Instagram or so is working as a very good tool for them to push the adoption of this product or service as well. Now we have also the tailoring the marketing plan to intended adopters. So the marketing plan in this case is that, for example, when it comes to early adopters, you will try to convince them with all the features of the product. You have to understand that they are looking for what is the best technology available. So you have to make sure that you show them all the features very accurately and that you maximize a little bit that. Whereas we compare with the laggards are just searching for cheapest technology and that's it. Best features, best value, lowest price. So how are you gonna do that how are you gonna gosh from full features, full price to late of the market, lower your price and offer it to the laggard? So in the end, you want to make as you want to take advantage of the cash flow as much as possible. And of course, with the marketing, we also have to shape the perceptions and expectations of what the consumer wants. So in this case, we have pre-announcement and press releases. Says already S20 is in the market. It's gonna be in April. It's gonna be there. Expected new features, new functions. So it's gonna be better than ever. So it already starts to build a hype around it. And the same thing we have when the reputation is also involved. If you say Google is gonna launch a new video gaming platform, Google is good. Yep. They have good products. Yeah, the expectation is there. And that goes together with those credible commitments. In this case, Google has invested a lot of millions of dollars into their video gaming division. So in this case, it's a credible commitment that because of the reputation and the credible commitment of investment that they have done, they will likely get a good product. So now, give me 1 second. So now we're closing this subject in, and we have to talk of what really digital innovation really means. What is the meaning for you? So we have seen a lot of theory and practices throughout, but the reality is that you have to be active when looking for technology. We're looking for innovations that make your life more productive, that constantly enhance your work quality as well. So in this case, for example, for your final project, I ask you to use different softwares or visualization tools because you're very used to use Word, but Word already is not visually attractive. So you started to look for things, new technologies that enhance the visualization of your project, and that is precisely what happens in your real life. And the same thing if you realize that your method of calculating something is very slow and there's a software already existing that can do those calculations for you, then just go for it. Try to change a little bit your mindset and actively always look for things that maximize your productivity and so on. So in this case, you have that homework forever. And the same thing, we have to compare you have to compare whether your mindset of innovation is trending or not. What you have done in your final project, did that really have a real innovation, or you were just rough guessing? So I want you to watch this video of some of the best technologies in 2020 in the CES convention. CES convention is the largest, or one of the largest conventions in terms of technology, and you can see how they tackle actual problems with a certain technology. So go and watch it, understand it, and that's it for this subject. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any questions, please let me know.